Tonight, Republicans are in lockstep, preparing to coronate a convicted felon as their presidential nominee at their national convention next week in Milwaukee. And yet, after more than 2 weeks of self-immolation, Democrats are still debating the political future of their presumptive nominee, President Biden, who's been working overtime to shore up support for his re-election campaign. Today, Biden had calls with the Congressional Progressive Caucus and the New Democrat coalition to reassure them that he can and will beat Donald Trump in November. It's a message he's been delivering ever since his disastrous debate performance on June 27th, including last night at a raucous rally in Detroit.
I am running, and we're going to win. I'm the nominee of this party because 14 million Democrats like you voted for me in the primaries. You made me the nominee, no one else, not the press, not the pundits, not the insiders, not donors. You, the voters, you decided, no one else, and I'm not going anywhere.
Time and time again, Biden has proved that he is the man to defeat the twice impeached, 4 times indicted and convicted on 34 felonies former president. But some Democrats continue to call on him to drop out of the race. So far, 19 out of 260 Democratic members of the House and Senate have publicly done so. Some critics are pointing to polls that supposedly show Biden losing the race to keep the White House and thereby putting a Democratic takeover of the House and Democratic control of the Senate in jeopardy ever since the disaster in Atlanta. But here's the thing. 2 brand new polls conducted after the debate tell a different story. The Washington Post ABC News poll released Wednesday shows that President Biden's support among voters virtually unchanged, with the race basically tied. You see it there on the screen, 46-46. An NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll released yesterday shows Biden with a slight edge over Trump, 50-48. Still within the margin of error. But that doesn't seem to matter. Biden doubters have set multiple new bars for him to meet, and he's met them. They wanted more energy and fire in his veins on the campaign trail, which he showed at a rally in Raleigh the day after the debate, and again last night. Listen to how the crowd in Detroit was supporting him. Don't you quit. And they're right. But this energy has not been enough for the detractors who continue to move the goalposts. They said Biden needed to do a sit-down interview, which he did with ABC's George Stephanopoulos last week. He has another interview with NBC's Lester Holt scheduled for Monday. Then they said he needed to get off the teleprompter and be more extemporaneous, which he did this week when he met with union leaders at the AFL-CIO headquarters in Washington, and when he spoke with voters yesterday at a restaurant in Northville, a suburb of Detroit. Then they said he needed to do a standalone press conference, which he did, taking detailed policy questions from reporters for 59 minutes. Not everyone is clamoring for Biden to get out. None other than Senator Bernie Sanders has backed up Biden and blasted his detractors in a New York Times op-ed out today, writing, quote, "Enough. Mr. Biden may not be the ideal candidate, but he will be the candidate and should be the candidate. It's time for Democrats to stop the bickering and nitpicking." Senator Sanders, I agree with you. The president is focused on November. He's reached out to the congressional Black, Hispanic, and Asian American caucuses. The Black community in particular has been key to this president's success. We're pragmatic voters who understand the stakes. We want a candidate who can win and, above all, do us no harm. So far, not a single member of the Congressional Black Caucus has called on the president to leave the race. But NBC News reports some members of the caucus are frustrated at the ongoing debate over the president's candidacy. After all, the longer Democrats waste time imploding, the less time they'll have to focus on the existential threat to our democracy. Donald J. Trump. Joining me now, Congressman Stephen Horsford of Nevada, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Congressman Robert Garcia of California, a member of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. But Congressman Horsford, I will start with you. I want to this week. I believe this was a tweet. You said that the CBC is not a monolith, and you said that we have always expressed repeatedly and directly, including to the President of the United States himself, the need to make change, structural change in the campaign. What kind of structural changes would you like to see in the campaign, and have you seen any of them?
Absolutely. It's great to be with you, Jonathan. And look, President Joe Biden is on fire. I was so proud that he laid out a clear agenda for what he will do in the first 100 days when he is reelected as president, along with Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm excited to welcome him to my district in Las Vegas next week. Nevada is a battleground state. And so while Republicans led by their convicted nominee, Donald Trump, and MAGA Republicans talk about Trump's Project 2025 plan to take away freedoms, rights, and opportunities, President Biden will be with me in my district, one of the most diverse districts in the country, talking to Black, Latino, Asian Americans, as well as labor leaders and others who are focused on moving our country forward. We have the NAACP National Convention, UNIDOS US, as well as the National Bar. But I am hosting my own summit in my district where the president will join me to talk about issues around housing, entrepreneurship, and helping to lift up our communities, something that Donald Trump doesn't care anything about because he only cares about himself.
Congressman, what are you hearing from your constituents? Are your phone lines burning up with, a majority of the folks saying he needs to get out of the race?
You know, my constituents, and I agree with them, are concerned that the rent is too damn high. They're concerned with the fact that corporate landlords are buying up the properties in our communities in North Las Vegas. 1 in 3 homes, a third, are now owned by these corporate landlords. That's why I agree with people like Senator Bernie Sanders, who says it's time to take on the corporate power brokers, and that's who Donald Trump is focused on. He's focused on giving more tax breaks to the billionaires and to the ultra wealthy and leaving the majority of Americans behind.
Congressman, let me get your thoughts on this tweet from Nicole Hannah-Jones yesterday. And she wrote, "This is what I'm hearing from so many Black Americans, especially Black women, who feel, one, that their vote, decision, and concerns are being undermined by non-Black people in the Democratic Party. 2, that too many people reporting and commenting do not seem to understand the stakes. And 3, that perhaps the polling is reflecting a Democratic Party that is attacking its own candidate rather than the opposing one." I would love to get your thoughts on what she lays out there.
Well, look, first, trust Black women, who are the base of the Democratic Party, and trust Black voters who understand the threat that Donald Trump and the Trump's Project 2025 pose. Not only do they want to roll back protections for women, they want to eliminate the Department of Education. They want to take away benefits for veterans. They want to strip away benefits for seniors on Medicare and Social Security. Why? All to give more tax breaks to the very wealthy, the ultra wealthy, and the big corporations. That is why we need to work to win back the House, to make Hakeem Jeffries the next Speaker of the House of Representatives, so that on day one we can lead an agenda that lifts up the American people. But we need the White House and the Senate in order to move that agenda forward.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Congressman Stephen Horsford, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, thank you, as always, for coming to the Saturday show.
Thank you, Jonathan.
And joining me now, Congressman Robert Garcia of California. Congressman Garcia, welcome back to the show. Thank you, as always, for being here. You were on that call that the president had with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus yesterday. How did it go, and what was the president's message?
Well, look, the president did a great job. He's been going around, going to all these meetings, meeting with members, meeting with the caucuses. I think the overwhelming, what you're seeing from our members from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, from our chair is strong support for the president. When I talk to my voters, my local community, particularly our large Latino community, what you hear is a message of "Sí se puede." We can elect Joe Biden. We can and will continue to support our president and our vice president. And so it's pretty overwhelming. I think what you heard from Representative Horsford, who is a great friend, is that majority Black and brown communities are united behind the president. And we're seeing that these are communities that have a lot at stake. We're oftentimes the first to have programs cut. We know the attacks that Donald Trump is trying to make on immigrants and migrants. There is so much on the line in this November. Our attention is on defeating Donald Trump, a con man, a criminal, a traitor, and the absolute worst person to ever be president in the history of our country. It is time to move forward and defeat Donald Trump. And I'm not sure how many times Joe Biden needs to say that he's in this race to win it. He's running. He said it once. He said it twice. He continues to say it. Let's get behind our nominee, Joe Biden.
Now, I hear you, and you're saying that the caucus is united, folks are united, and yet during that call with the Hispanic caucus that the president had, Congressman Mike Levin of California urged the president to drop his election bid. What was your reaction, and where do you stand? Oh, I'm sorry, Congressman Garcia. Something has happened at the Trump... Oh, we see Donald Trump there at a rally in Pennsylvania. You can see his face. There's blood coming from his ear. Not exactly sure what has happened, but those are Secret Service agents trying to pull Donald Trump off the stage. He's pumping his fist in the air. The crowd is chanting USA, USA. Again, this is live. This is live from a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. In Butler, Pennsylvania, former President Donald Trump, something happened, clearly some kind of an attack. You see there clearly blood on his right ear as Secret Service tried to push him into the SUV. Earlier, as we came on, you saw the former president pumping his fist in the air as the Secret Service agents tried to get him off the stage. They have succeeded in getting him into the armored SUV. They will be taking him, clearly, they will be taking him away from that scene. And as you know, we here at NBC News and MSNBC News will do extensive reporting to find out exactly what happened. But again, you're looking at live pictures from Butler, Pennsylvania, where a Trump rally has come to an abrupt end after the former president was attacked. Attacked how, we're not sure. But when we came live on air, you could see the former president in profile, blood coming from his right ear as Secret Service agents tried to take him from the stage. He pumped his fist in the air multiple times. They were able to get him off the stage. They were able to get him into the armored SUV. He had only been speaking about 5 minutes at that rally. And again, as we came on air, you could hear the crowd chanting USA as the former president pumped his fist in the air. But again, we are looking at live pictures of a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. There you see the former president's motorcade leaving. 2 SUVs, you see that ambulance, 3 SUVs, taking the former president away from this rally that had only just begun. He had only been speaking for about 5 minutes when something happened. We're going to show it now. This is video of what happened at that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. You saw the former president, as we just showed it, the former president comes on. He grabbed his right ear, and Secret Service agents rushed to the stage. You see right now they have the former president down on the platform where he was speaking. He had only been speaking for about 5 minutes when this happened. Secret Service agents rushed the stage. You see heavily armed Secret Service agents there at the front of the stage. And this is we're still showing you tape of the incident as it happened before. And now you see Secret Service agents in this tape, or before there's the Secret Service agents pulling the former president up and taking him off the stage. You are now looking at live pictures coming from Butler, Pennsylvania, 6:16 p.m. Eastern Time, where a few minutes ago, Donald Trump, former president, at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. You see it here, the tape. He's speaking, and then he touches his right ear and then immediately drops down to the platform. Secret Service agents rush to the stage. There were reports of a lot of noise, and as we saw, a loud noise. And then, as you saw, at least I saw, the former president flinched, grabbed his right ear, looked around, and then as Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, he dropped down to the platform of the stage behind the podium. And as we're looking at this video, recorded video moments ago, the Secret Service agents huddled over the former president. You see two heavily armed Secret Service agents at either end of the stage. The crowd there standing, watching in disbelief. And now, as you see in this video taken, the former president is raised up by the Secret Service agents. The Make America Great Again hat that he had on is off. You see him without the hat. You see you will see in a moment blood streaking from his ear across his face. And you see a defiant Donald Trump pumping his fist in the air and getting a reaction from the crowd. And you will soon hear them chanting USA, USA, as they take the former president off the stage there at that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We still have Congressman Robert Garcia of California with us. Congressman, your reaction to what we're seeing. It is never a good thing when violence breaks out in this country, particularly violence against elected officials or former elected officials, and certainly a former president of the United States.
No, this is horrific. I mean, you never want to have this kind of violence. And obviously, we're going to learn a lot more about what happened here. But if this was some type of shooting, just horrific, and everyone should condemn this type of attack. Violence is not the answer. Certainly not violence against political opponents or people in the space running for president is just crazy. And so I think at this moment, everyone just needs to wish, of course, everyone the best, the president. I know our president, I know President Trump. At this moment, it's important that we are wishing President Trump a recovery, and political violence is not the answer. And I think that this is a really, scary moment for politics. And I think the images that we're seeing are horrific.
Congressman Garcia, thank you very much for coming to the Saturday show and hanging in there with us for a few moments. As we're looking again on the left of your screen, you see former President Donald Trump reacting to something hitting him on the right of his head, dropping down to the stage behind the podium. Secret Service agents jumping on top of him, which is standard protocol for situations like this. This happened moments ago at a Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm going to bring in former chair of the Democratic National Committee, Howard Dean, also former governor of Vermont, and Stuart Stevens, senior advisor for the Lincoln Project and author of The Conspiracy to End America: 5 Ways My Old Party is Driving Our Democracy to Autocracy. Gentlemen, just your reaction to this literal breaking news that's happened just as we have come on the air. Governor Dean, your reaction first.
Well, obviously, violence is not the answer in a democratic society, and it's important for candidates not to use violent images because this is the kind of stuff that happens when you do that. So it looked like the president wasn't, or the former president wasn't badly hurt, but we don't know, and we don't even know what caused it. But I think I just put an appeal out for everybody who's going to vote and who has strong feelings that if you go this far, that is not going to serve democracy well.
Stuart?
Working in campaigns, you always are concerned presidential level about security and about any chances of risk to a candidate. We just have to find out what happened here. Hopefully, President Trump's going to be okay. It looks like he is, but we really just don't know enough about what happened here. I can't really comment on it, except if it is violence, it obviously has no place in American politics.
Again, just to bring people up to speed, the images on the left part of your screen is recording from moments ago after former President Donald Trump was attacked in some way. And I use the word attacked because, as we saw, he was standing there at the podium, flinched at a noise, grabbed the right side of his head, and then as Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, he dropped down. Secret Service agents, as is protocol, covered the former president. And then on the right side of your screen, you saw images of after Secret Service agents got Donald Trump off that stage and into the armored SUV. This rally you see there, watch the left side of your screen. You will see the former president speaking, and then flinch, grab the right side, and then drop down as Secret Service agents rush to the podium. There on the right side of your screen that's a live picture from that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where the former president had only been speaking for about 5 minutes when the action that you see on the left side of your screen took place. So, Howard, we have heard such violent rhetoric on the campaign trail. The campaign itself has been very intense. The language has been very aggressive. Lots of people, Republicans and Democrats, expressing a lot of concern about the tenor and tone of this presidential election. How concerned should we be that what we have just seen in Butler, Pennsylvania, is something that we're going to have to look out for with increasing frequency?
Well, I mean, I think as the temperature continues to boil, as we get closer and closer to this election, which is an incredibly divisive election, there's going to be more violent feelings. Whether there be more actual violence is hard to say. This is a very difficult stunt to pull off. We don't, of course, know what was pulled off. I'm assuming it was some sort of gunshot that actually missed, which would have been an attempt to kill the president. I have no idea. But the Secret Service is incredibly good at this. Because I was a front runner for a very brief time, I actually had some Secret Service people working for me. They're really good at their job, really good. So, it's impossible to know what's happened here. But I suspect the Secret Service will figure it out pretty quickly. And I'm a little surprised that they didn't, if there is a gunman, which it looked like there probably was somewhere, that they didn't pounce on somebody. But we don't know. I don't know I've actually been to Butler. I was campaigning for Obama in Butler in 2008. It's pretty conservative territory. I stood out in front of a UAW factory to meet the shifts as they came out and then went back in. The only question they asked me is, Obama going to take our guns? So it's conservative territory, working class territory. And so it's impossible. Again, it's possible to know what happened. And until we know what happened, it's going to be probably not all that helpful to make speculative remarks.
Hey, Stuart, Governor Dean raises an interesting point, and I would love if you have any perspective also on Butler, Pennsylvania, that area there. The governor just said that it's a conservative area of Pennsylvania.
Look, I think we have to be very careful to draw any conclusions about any political implications of what we just saw, because we don't know what we just saw.
Right.
I have also been to Butler. I worked for Governor Riz when he worked there in presidential elections. But I would just agree with the governor that any kind of speculation here is not productive.
Again, if you are just tuning in, what you're seeing on the left side of your screen is former President Donald Trump being led off the stage after something happened. We're not sure what it was, but as you're looking, you can see blood coming from the right side of his head, potentially possibly his ear. Earlier, you could see the blood streaking across his face as Secret Service agents rushed up onto the stage, covered him, and then pulled him up. And as you see there on the left side of your screen, escorting him undercover to the armored SUV and whisking him away from the scene. On the right side of your screen, you're looking at the aftermath of that. After that rally concluded in Butler, Pennsylvania. We have NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Rafa here on the phone. She is in Rehoboth, where President Biden is. Ali, any reaction from the president or the White House to what unfolded in Pennsylvania?
I'm just asking.
Yeah, well, we have reached out to the White House as well as the Biden campaign and Secret Service in the wake of this news that former President Trump was injured after Secret Service rushed him off stage after these loud noises were heard coming from the crowd. The Biden campaign as well as the White House say that they are aware and monitoring these developments. But just moments ago, we heard an update from the president himself, who, remember, is here in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where he has a home. The president led a church service here in Rehoboth Beach, and he was asked by the pool of reporters that travel with him whether he had been briefed on the shooting at the former president's rally. And the president simply said no, but no doubt we could expect that briefing to happen shortly after the president said these words. And we could assume that the White House is working on some official response in an official capacity to news that the former president was injured at this rally.
Ali, let me ask you one more question. Has there been any kind of increased security presence or posture there in Rehoboth with the president, given what just happened to the former president in Pennsylvania?
Well, it's possible that that may follow in the wake of this news, but considering it happened just a few minutes ago, there hasn't been any official change in security posture here in Rehoboth Beach. But of course, the president always travels in his capacity as president with a huge amount of security, a vast security apparatus traveling with him wherever he goes, to either of his homes in Delaware. But as of right now, no official confirmation that any security changes have happened with the president in the wake of this news.
All right, Ali Rafa, NBC correspondent there in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Thank you very much for that update. If you have any more information coming out of the White House or from the president, please let us know. And again, we are in breaking news coverage here, because what you see on the left side of your screen is what happened 5 minutes after former President Donald Trump started speaking at his rally. There were loud noises. In video, you can see the former president flinch, grab the right side of his head, and then drop down as Secret Service agents rushed to the platform to cover the former president. You see there armed Secret Service there with assault rifles. As you continue to watch the video on the left side of your screen, you will see the Secret Service agents and the former president stand up, and you will also see the former president pump his fist in the air as the Secret Service agents try to pull him from that stage and into an armored SUV, where they then raced from the scene. On the right side of your screen are live pictures from that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We just had a report from NBC News' Ali Rafa, who's in Rehoboth Beach with President Biden, where the president has been briefed about what has happened. I want to bring in now Cedric Alexander, MSNBC senior law enforcement analyst and former member of President Obama's task force on 21st century policing. Mr. Alexander, first and foremost, your thoughts on what we've seen and what we've been looking at from Butler, Pennsylvania today.
Well, certainly this is very troubling to all of us, Jonathan, and to every person across the country right now, particularly in this political season, to see what we're looking at and witnessing, even though we don't know the circumstances, we don't know exactly what happened, how it happened as of yet. But I certainly, I think we all can be very concerned that something here has gone wrong, and hopefully the American public, regardless of who you are, will learn more about what happened here tonight. But this is very troubling to everyone who's watching this right now, I'm quite sure, and certainly in the law enforcement community.
And so, Mr. Alexander, what are the next steps for law enforcement?
I'm quite sure intelligence information they may have acquired or attempting to acquire as to what has taken place. And I think throughout the course of the evening, first and foremost, we have to make sure that the former president, and he will, get the proper medical care that is needed. But the ongoing investigation in and of itself has already begun to take place, believe it or not. There are going to be a lot of moving parts. There's going to be a lot of review of this footage and other footage that we may not even be privy to at this point. So I think as the evening continues, hopefully we'll learn more as to what it is that we're looking at here. But I certainly believe, Jonathan, we can't be too speculatively here. And we really have to be somewhat, as best we can as Americans across this country, be a little bit patient here, because what happened here certainly is very troubling and should be to anybody and everybody across this country.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Alexander, in a situation like this, especially a situation like this involving a former president, which entity is leading the investigation into what happened here? Is it the Secret Service? Is it the FBI?
It's going to be all your federal agencies going to play a very crucial part in all this. Certainly the Secret Service is going to play a very important role. The FBI very easily, I could imagine, could take the lead on this case. All of your federal agencies, any of them that you can name, will be involved and are involved at this moment in this, from Homeland Security to Secret Service to FBI. And then maybe even quite sure even our intelligence community is watching this and is going to be part of this process as well, too. So we don't know exactly what happened here, but I think as we go throughout the night into tomorrow and over the rest of this weekend, hopefully we'll learn more. But I can assure you that even at your state and local and unquestionably at your federal level, it's going to be all hands on deck when you have this type of horrific incident to take place. And it looks bad, regardless of what happened. It certainly is very troubling here in terms of what we're seeing and what has occurred to the former president of the United States.
Cedric Alexander, MSNBC senior law enforcement analyst, thank you very much for getting on the phone and talking with us today. Joining me now, Max Boot, Washington Post columnist and national security studies senior fellow for the Council on Foreign Relations. Max, thank you very much for being here. You were already going to be on the show, but we're pulling you in early because of what we've been watching since nearly the beginning of this 6 o'clock hour. Former President Donald Trump apparently being injured at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Just your initial thoughts.
Well, I don't have a lot to add beyond what others are already saying, Jonathan. I'm just, like everybody else, I'm just stunned and horrified and dismayed that something like this could possibly happen in this country. I really hope that President Trump is okay. And just to reiterate what everybody else has said, there is absolutely no room for violence in politics. That's a threat to our entire democracy, our Constitution. And I'm just appalled by what we've seen, and I think we just need to learn more before we can comment on what happened.
Yeah, and I take your point. Cedric Alexander made the same point. Governor Dean and Stuart Stevens, everyone has made the same point, that this is not a time for speculation. We do not know what happened, only what we see there on the screen, which is what you see on the left is the video that happened just after 6 o'clock. Former President Donald Trump was speaking at a rally. He'd only been speaking for about 5 minutes when there were loud noises. He grabbed his ear, the side of his right head, and on his own volition, dropped down as Secret Service agents crowded over him, which is what you see right now. And then they bring him off the stage and into an armored SUV. You know, we've been talking a lot, particularly on this show, about the tenor and tone of our national politics. Lots of stories about threats against members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. This feeling and fear that the tone of our politics are creeping ever so to the edge of not pretty, which is not even, that doesn't begin to describe some of the angst and the fear out there. How concerned are you, or should we be, that that what we're seeing there on the left side of the screen is something that we're going to see more of? And I hate to say that, but you know, this has not happened in America in a long time, and when it does, it sort of shocks the senses.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think this is a very, as you point out, Jonathan, I think this is a very dangerous and volatile situation. We have way too many guns in this country and not enough mental health care, and we're also living in a very incendiary, polarized, partisan climate where you can easily imagine that you might have extremists on either side or no side at all, just people who are just driven mad by events and engage in horrible acts of violence. We saw, you know, a shooting several years ago at a congressional baseball game. We saw an attack on Speaker Pelosi's husband in his home in San Francisco. Now, you know, whatever we've seen here today, we don't know exactly what happened, but it's just, I think, a reminder for all of us that we need to dial it back. We need to calm things down. We need to resort to our normal democratic process. And I think everybody across the political spectrum needs to unite, and I think will unite in condemning any kind of violence, no matter who is the target of it.
Yeah, you know, and I am glad you said that, Max, because, you know, our politics can be very polarized. When we get into the discussions, you know, folks have their camps, and the language can be brisk, yeah, if not brusque. But when something like this happens in our country, when a former president of the United States is apparently injured while speaking at a campaign rally, a political campaign rally, we all have to take a step back and all have to just be mindful of just how dangerous that situation is that we're looking at. But also, we should all be mindful of how we talk about this and right now, and how we talk about it going forward, because it's the unity of the country right now that we should be thinking about. No matter what you think about the former president, no elected official of either party, of any party, should be the target of any kind of political violence.
Absolutely. Any attempted assault on an office holder or somebody who's seeking office, it's an assault on our entire democracy. It's an assault on our Constitution. It's an assault on the very foundations of our country. It's completely unacceptable. It's horrifying. And I think, you know, if there's any silver lining in a terrible incident like this, it's that you know, the hope that the expectation that it will bring people together, just to say this is completely over the line, completely unacceptable. This is not who we are as Americans, and just kind of bring us together as a nation to reject any possibility of violence in the political process.
Again, this is the moment you're looking on your screen right now when former president hears the loud bang, touches the right part of his ear, and drops down as Secret Service agents rush to the stage to cover him. And then eventually he he with the agents rise up, and then they go off the stage and into an armored SUV and taken from the scene. We have on the phone with us Christopher O'Leary. Mr. O'Leary is a former FBI agent. Thank you very much for getting on the phone and talking with us today. Can you please, as a former FBI agent, bring us inside what might be happening right now in terms of the former president's safety and security, but also in terms of investigating what happened there in Butler, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, well, hey, good to be with you, number one. And unfortunately, under these circumstances, as Max was talking about, any kind of political violence against a candidate or somebody who's already in office is unacceptable. But because of that, the full weight of the U.S. government, all the agencies will be thrown against this. The Secret Service, first and foremost, they are the best in the world at protecting. So coverage of the event, they will be gleaning information from on the ground there, video surveillance, technical collection from different people's cell phones that were there. And if there were, again, there were loud bangs. I don't want to assume that there were shots, but if there were shots, they'll be doing ballistics testing. But again, if this was political violence or terrorism, the FBI, and that is the Secret Service. I mean, they have every inch of that place covered in a 360. On the ground, above and below the ground, aerial protection. I mean, the Secret Service is their attention to detail and protecting their protectee is amazing. But it's obviously there's a history of this in the United States. The Secret Service was born out of the death of President McKinley. And, that's when we started protecting our presidents after that. That's when Teddy Roosevelt got into office. But it's somebody who is committed to acting. It's very hard to protect anybody 365 days out of the year, 24 hours a day. But they've gathered a lot of information. They also have an exceptional group that does protective intelligence. So trying to identify any high threat individuals who might have been attending the rally or who traveled in from somewhere else, or who are located in that area. They already know those people, and that is being shared with the FBI right now.
All right, Christopher O'Leary, thank you very much for coming here, getting on the phone and giving us your insight. I just want to bring everyone up to speed. What you're seeing here is the aftermath of something happening in Butler, Pennsylvania, where former President Donald Trump had just started. He was 5 minutes into a rally, speaking at a rally there in Pennsylvania, when something happened. It's not clear what happened, but Secret Service agents jumped on the stage, piled on top of him. And as you see there on the screen, this is recorded within this hour, taking him to that armored SUV and whisking him away from the scene. Even though we have been talking about the political tone and tenor of our discourse and political violence, we want to be clear that it is not clear that this was political violence. We will find out as law enforcement investigates what happened. As Mr. O'Leary was telling us, Secret Service, FBI, all federal agencies will be involved in investigating what happened. I also should bring you up to date that President Biden in Rehoboth Beach has been briefed on what has happened. And I have here on X, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum put out a tweet that says, please join Catherine and me in praying for President Trump, his family, and everyone attending the rally today. That rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Max, before I go to our next guest, just wondering if you have any other thoughts as it's one of those, this is one of those situations, Max, where we had a whole show planned and then breaking news happens, which happens. Right. But this is a different kind. This is a different kind of breaking news simply because of the moment we're in and the person who apparently was injured at this rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. And that's former president of the United States, Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, I know we have to fill in the audience as best we can on what's going on, but I think I want to stress again, we really don't know what's going on. And so I think we have to be extremely careful in what we say beyond kind of the generalities that we've heard about, which are important at this time, at any time, about condemning political violence, about coming together as Americans, about rejecting extremism. I think these are all, basic truisms that we need to keep in mind, and just hope for the best for President Trump, and wish all that the Secret Service and FBI can get to the bottom of exactly what happened, and we can figure out what transpired, because we still don't have any real information about that.
Right. The watchword here is patience. And patience at a time, in a time when we don't have any, and especially as we're playing it now. What happened at that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania? Something like this that we're seeing is very disturbing on multiple levels. Again, we don't know exactly what happened. The former president was apparently injured. We do not know, again, what happened, whether it was political violence or not. All we know is that a former president of the United States, something happened, and Secret Service rushed to the stage, piled on, and then whisked him off the stage into an armored SUV and away from the scene. This is hard stuff, simply because of where we are right now in this country. We're 2 days away from the Republican National Convention kicking off in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where Donald Trump on Thursday is slated to accept his party's nomination again for president of the United States. And the former president doing what candidates do, and that is to hold campaign rallies, ask people for their votes. And what we're seeing there is Secret Service, former President Trump thrusting his fist in the air, and Secret Service surrounding him in a ring and pulling him off the stage. We have a statement on X from the Secret Service spokesperson, Anthony Guglielmi. He writes, "An incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures, and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available." Joining me now, Howard Dean, former DNC chair and former governor of Vermont. Governor Dean, thank you for hanging in there with us. You've had some time to think about what's happened, to also hear some of the information that we've been able to glean, little that it is. But your thoughts and reaction?
We don't really know anything more than we did at the moment that the former president was injured. So, and I think, as Max and others have said, just speculating for the sake of speculating and filling airtime is not helpful. I think we're just going to have to wait for the investigation, try to figure out what happened, and then, depending on what happened, react accordingly. Clearly, there's going to have to be security issues for both candidates going forward. The President Biden, of course, has a very experienced security detail, but this security detail is very experienced as well. And as I said, when I ran, I briefly had a small contingent of former Secret Service people because it looked like I might get the nomination, and they're incredibly good at what they do. So I have full confidence that the Secret Service is going to get to the bottom of this and figure out what happened.
Governor, it's hard to believe that it slipped my mind that you actually ran for president, and you had, as you mentioned,
when they do recommend that you not go. I was the first governor in the country to sign a marriage equality bill. And even in liberal Vermont, I had to wear a bulletproof vest for most of the summer when I was campaigning. And there were some places that the state police advised that I not go. So that was a pretty hot time as well. The Secret Service, though, their methodry is very, very extraordinarily thorough. And I didn't have the full dose of that because I didn't get that far in the presidential race. But it's very, very strong. And at this point, where you know pretty much who both nominees are going to be, you're going to expect the best possible protection that the Secret Service offers on both sides.
Dean, former DNC chair, former governor of Vermont, thank you very much. I'm going to go back to NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa with the latest.
Yeah, Jonathan, well, a couple of minutes ago, when we spoke, the president had just left a church service here in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where he has a home, where he is spending the weekend. And he was asked by the pool of reporters that travel with the president whether he had been briefed and made aware of this incident at the former president's rally in Pennsylvania. And the president simply said no, and then returned to his home here in Rehoboth Beach. And we're now getting an update from the White House that says that the president is aware and has received an initial briefing on the incident. We've also reached out to the Biden campaign. They say that they are aware and monitoring developments on this, and they are gathering more information before offering any official reaction. But we have heard from Secret Service as well. As you saw, those Secret Service agents rushing the former president off that stage in Pennsylvania. A Secret Service spokesperson just a few minutes ago saying in a statement, quote, an incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation and further information will be released when available. Jonathan, we have also reached out to the White House, to Secret Service, to see whether this incident in Pennsylvania has resulted in some security posture changes here in Delaware, any preventative measures being taken to protect President Biden, and we have not received any confirmation or update on any potential changes in that arena. But we are continuing to reach out to Secret Service officials to get any information on that, Jonathan. But that's the reaction we have so far.
You read the statement from the Secret Service. They're saying that they are going to update us as they get more information. So hopefully they will get more information soon, as we know from the various guests that we have had on from law enforcement, that all the resources we're going to play that right now.
20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Frank Figluzzi, are you still with us?
I sure am. Yeah. That.
Okay.
Jonathan,
so now that you've heard it, please tell us. Give us your observations.
So again, I know we're stressing, and we must, that this is still very early, and we're all engaged in kind of a smart conjecture, I'll call it. But the sound that we heard could be multiple rounds being fired. I say could be because there are occasions, based on the environment, where it sounds like multiple rounds, but it's actually echoing. So, but to me, just realizing that I have a phone to my ear and that's all, I'm hearing what I think might be multiple rounds. Now, are those rounds coming from the threat, or is that returned fire by Secret Service? We don't know.
That is a very good point there. And Frank, I am glad that you were on the phone and with us as we played the sound from that incident. Again, you are looking at former President Trump thrusting his fist in the air as you see Secret Service taking him off the stage after an incident at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he had only been speaking for about 5 minutes when, as we just heard, lots of loud noises. And now the Secret Service taking the former president off the stage into an awaiting armored SUV. We don't know exactly what happened, but we do know that the former president is safe after being injured at that rally. I want to thank you all very much for being with me. I'm Jonathan Capehart. Chris Jansing picks up the breaking news coverage next.
Hello, I am Chris Jansing with breaking news tonight. Former President Donald Trump apparently injured and rushed off the stage just minutes into his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We now have a statement from his campaign. They say that he is doing fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. But you can hear from the crowd what a terrifying moment it was. Let's take a look at the scene as it played out just moments ago.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the spare. Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready. We ready? Down. Shooters down. Are we good? Shooters down. Shooters down. Are we good to move? Shooters down. We're good to move. We're clear. Let's move. Let's move. We're clear. Let me get my shoes. Got you, sir. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold that in your head. It's bloody. So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay, my shoes down. Watch out.